Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about impact of child sexual abuse on the survivor. I am Dr. Suresh Padadmat, Professor of Psychiatry, working at Nimans, Bangalore. Before I start my presentation, I would like to place this disclaimer. This presentation is for academic and training purpose only. For clinical opinion, please do contact a psychiatrist. For legal opinion, please do contact an advocate. Conflict of interest? None. The objective of this video is to educate about child sexual abuse, to discuss about grooming and accommodation syndrome, impact of child sexual abuse on child, family members, and the counselors. The target audience for this video are doctors, psychiatrists, pediatrician, gynecologists, nurses, counselors, mental health professionals, professionals from criminology background, officers from observational home, advocates, judicial officers, and any officers working in custodial settings. Let's discuss about child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is defined as the involvement of a child in sexual activity that he or she does not fully comprehend, is unable to give informed consent, or for which the child is not developmentally prepared and cannot give consent, or that violates the law or social taboos of the society. This is the definition given by WHO. Let's understand the dynamic of child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is entirely different from abuse of an adult. Here, the physical violence is usually not common during child sexual abuse, but in the later part of child sexual abuse, physical violence may occur, but it is an extreme form. Psychological trauma is very common in child sexual abuse. CSA, that is child sexual abuse, occurs over many weeks or even years without disclosure because the child is either threatened or bribed or coerced into the activity. And invariably, abuser knows the child and the child knows him very well because invariably he is a trusted caregiver. Hence, it occurs for many years before it is disclosed. And invariably, please understand, child sexual abuse occurs in the background of inducement, that I will give you iPhone, I will give you iPad, or else behind coercion, threat that I'm going to kill your mother, your brother, or I'll kill your family members, exploitation, silencing the child, manipulating the child, physical violence and abuse are also seen. And this child sexual abuse occurs, it is a repeated episodes of abuse occurs and becomes invasive over a period of time. Initially, the child sexual abuse invariably like a molestation. As the months and years pass, it becomes penetrative in nature. And incest and intrafamilial abuse accounts for 1/3 of child sexual abuse across the world. Disclosure of child sexual occurs in installments, that is over a period of time. The child gives a glimpse of abuse initially and nobody trusts, it will not reveal again. That means it gives in episodes of information is given. That means disclosure is not a one-time affair or a one-time event. It gives information over a period of time. Hence, involving the counselor in the early stage, if you suspect abuse, is very essential. And at the same time, do not hesitate to seek help because it is a matter of a child's life. Because child is undergoing torture almost every day. CSA victims, the child sexual abuse victims, goes through a grooming process. Grooming process is a manipulating the psyche of the child for the purpose of sexual gratification. Grooming is a methodical approach and systematically done to violate the child. Let's discuss about this grooming. The grooming is done by the pedophiles. They do it with an intention, in a methodical way, systematically, to trap the child and use the child for their sexual gratification. There are various steps. I will discuss that. Step 1 is targeting. The abuser targets the child He will search for a child who is highly vulnerable and risky, such as a unaccompanied children. That means there is no father or mother, single parent, or a broken families, children in foster care home, adopted children, physically or mentally disabled children. Imagine if a child is disabled, who is unable to speak, deaf and dumb, how the child is going to inform. If the child has physical disability, they will be taken advantage easily. Child from a poor socioeconomic status, socially isolated family, children where their parents have mental illness, or else parents are using alcohol or drugs. These are the children who are highly vulnerable, and pedophiles will target them. Means they will choose the target very specifically. Once they have chosen the target, they will enter into the second step, that is gaining the trust. Here, the pedophile or the abuser shows interest in the child. They will start spending time with the child. They will gather as much information of the child. They will do all background work with regard to child. They will learn what is the child wants, the needs of the child. They will give emotional support to the child. They will become friend to the child initially, so that they can take the child in a secluded place. Third, they will enter into the step. Third is basically fill a need. Here, the abuser provides the child's need, such as food, maybe chocolate, money, toys, gadgets, iPhone, maybe games. It may be a virtual game, entertainment, and so forth. Now, the child is already has got the emotional support. Now, the physical, whatever needs are fulfilled. Now, abuser, once he gets the emotional support and is fulfilling the needs, he's not going to give the iPhone. He says, it is a secret between you and me. When this phone belongs to you, but it will be with me. This iPad belongs to you. But if you take it, your mother or father will come to know, and they may not allow you to come and play this game with me. Hence, let the iPad belongs to you, but it will be with me. So the child needs to come to this abuser to use that iPhone, or it may be the iPad. And now the abuser introduces something called as promise game or secrecy game. He will say, no one should come to know that I have given iPad to you. And you will come and use this iPad with me only. So don't tell anybody when you are coming to meet me. So now they have prepared the child for a secrecy game. Now, once they have done this third step, they will enter into the fourth step, that is isolating the child. Child is told not to go with other friends or other kids. And they will say, it is now time is to play with me. And you play with the iPad. And now secrecy and promise is further strengthened. Now the child is not interacting with anybody. It is isolated. It has to come and meet him or spend time. It will play with him. It will also get the access to the iPad. And now you will start praising the child. You will say, you are so beautiful. You are so charming. You are so attractive. You will objectify the child. And he will say, because of your beauty. And he will start molesting the child. Now the abuse begins. Now child is lured into various games. In the name of the game, that he will start abusing the child. Now the child is blamed because the child is beautiful. Or else he will say, you told about me to your friend. That means I need to punish you. You have done something mistake. I have given the iPhone to you or iPad to you. You broke my trust. And he will also say, you are wearing beautiful dress. Hence I am unable to control. And also he will start threatening the child. He will say, I am going to kill your mother. Child is given in something in return, like food, chocolate, or gifts for sexual favor. Now the child is trapped completely. Even he will threaten the child by using nude photos of the child. Now he will maintain the control over the child. He will use this control by using maybe nude photos, maybe threat, coercion, exploitation, violence, and sexual abuse continues. And this occurs episodically. Periodically, the child sexual abuse will be a norm. And child starts accommodating the abuser for the abuser's demand because it becomes helpless, because he's caught in this vicious cycle. And the child believes that he's responsible for the child sexual abuse. And abuser is not the one who is responsible. It is called as accommodation syndrome, also called as child sexual abuse accommodation syndrome. This was the term given by Roland in 1983. This has 5 categories. First is developing secrecy, and now making the child helplessness, entrapping the child into this abuse, and the child start accommodating. And even if it is wants to disclose, there will be delayed and unconvincing disclosure occurs. And if it is done, sometimes retraction. And this is also sometimes called as Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome is a positive feeling of the victims towards the abuser or captor, and may even sympathize with them. The child will say, "The uncle is very good. I am the one who is responsible for the abuse." So, the child is made to feel guilty for the abuse done by an adult. Why children do not disclose? What is the reason? The main reason is the child is embarrassed. He doesn't know how to disclose this. And he does not understand what has happened with him. And whether it is normal or abnormal. At the same time, they do not have vocabulary to explain what is child sexual abuse. What is this act happening with them? Sometimes the abuser is known to the child. It may be child's father, maybe uncle, maybe brother. So the child does not want that adult to be in trouble with the police. Hence they do not disclose. Or else the abuser has played a game of secrecy and he has taken the promise. The child is also thinks nobody will believe me. The abuser bribes the child, threatens the child, and even he may blackmail with the nude photos of the child. Or else the child thinks the adult knows it. The parents know it, but they are not doing anything. Hence, majority of the time the child does not disclose. Now let's discuss about the impact of child sexual abuse on the child, on the family members, and the service provider, that is counselors. The impact can be divided into short-term and long-term, and also physical health impact and mental health impact. Let's discuss about the short-term impact. Short-term physical impact is physical injuries because of the abuse. The child may get sexually transmitted disease. The child may have complaints of pain, itching in the genital area, difficulty in walking or sitting, painful defecation, painful micturition, frequent genital infections. Severe injury and death may occur if the abuser does a penetrative intercourse with the small children. Mental health issues in the short term may be abrupt change in the behavior, self-harm, attempt to suicide or death by suicide, reluctance to go home, wearing many layers of clothes, even if the child is in a warm condition, fearfulness, anxiety, recurrent nightmares, disturbed sleep pattern, afraid of going in the dark, afraid of meeting certain peoples, sudden onset of fear of darkness, behavioral problems, regressive behavior, that is bedwetting, clinging behavior, thumb sucking, refusing to go to school, excessive crying. All these can be seen immediately after the abuse. What are the long-term consequences? Long-term consequences physical are HIV, AIDS the child may develop, sexually transmitted disorders, physical injuries related complication in the long term, pregnancy and childbirth related complication the child may face. What are the mental health problems in the long term? The child over a period of time, maybe 2 or 3 years continuously, the child is abused. The child will take refuge under the substance, smoking, drugs, alcohol, volatile substance, irritability and temper tantrums, fear of particular person, object or place, aggression towards other children or towards the other adult, academic decline, increased sexualized behavior. The victim may become perpetrator. That means the child believes Somebody is doing to me, I can also do to other children. That means victim becomes the perpetrator. Post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, thought of suicidal ideas, promiscuity. That is what I said about the increased sexualized behavior, personality disorders, poor body image and low self-esteem, unhealthy behaviors, using drugs, issues in maintaining relationship with other members of the society, sexual dysfunction for the life. So these are the physical and mental health impact in long term. Now let's discuss about the impact of child sexual abuse on the family members. As soon as the family members come to know their child has been abused, they will have shock. There will be denial. It can't happen to my child. How is it possible? How my father did this to my child, or my husband did this to my child, or my wife did this to my child. Anger. They will be bargaining, depression and acceptance. They will go through this grief process. It may take 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. The family discord may come. Imagine if the abuser is the husband's brother. The wife and husband will start fighting. If there is already a difference of opinion about the child upbringing between the parents, the discords becomes more. The family will start blame game. They will fight each other and the child is suffering. Imagine, do we want at this point of time? The family will also have guilt. The father may think, I'm an incompetent father. I could not protect my child. I did not give time to my child. I did not trust my child. I trusted the abuser. This kind of guilt may induce in the parents. They may start taking alcohol. They may become depressed. They may even attempt suicide also. Or else, they may have a reaction. Overprotective family it may become. They will not allow the child to go outside, to meet anybody. They will become overprotective. They do not send the child to the school also. That means it is counterproductive. Family becomes withdrawn because of the stigma. They may change the place from one place to another place to avoid discrimination. At the same time, economic loss is a huge problem because of the treatment, because of the loss of job, changing from one place to another place, changing from one house to another house, litigation cost. All this becomes a big burden to the family. Imagine the child has been abused, and because of that, the child has been known to the locality of the school. They have to change the school. They may have to change the place of residence. This will cost a huge amount on the family. Sometimes, if the abuser is a spouse, the divorce may occur. One of the family member may develop depression, anxiety, substance use. They start may worrying that what will happen to the future of this child, who will marry this child. So those kind of thinking will put them into a mental illness. Family stress and poor coping skills may have the impact on the healing of the child. With this, now we will move to the impact on the counselor. Imagine the counselor who is providing care for many children of child sexual abuse. It will have a serious impact on the counselor also. They may have compassionate fatigue. Burnout will be very common. Vicarious traumatization is very common in the caregivers and also to the counselors. The counselors may develop depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder also. Sometimes the counselor may have depersonalization, detachment feeling, becoming callous, becoming dehumanized attitude towards the child sexual abuse clients, feeling helpless, sense of inefficiency becomes a norm. In this situation, the counselor need to reach out to the supervised therapist. That means they need to find a therapist for themselves, so that every 2 months or 3 months, meeting them and discussing about a emotionally arousing cases need to be discussed, which is impacting the counselor. To conclude, my dear friends, the impact of child sexual abuse is long lasting and sometimes it is lifelong impact. Early recognition and intervention is the only way to go. It is not only intervening the child, the whole family need to be subjected to the intervention. That means support need to be given. Family therapy need to be given. Family coping skills has to be given. Compensation to the victim and to the family is very essential, so that the economic burden does not bog down the whole family. At the same time, the parents may develop mental illness. So you need to refer them, and they should not hesitate to seek help from the professionals. That means there should be a comprehensive management of the child, family members, and including the counselor is very, very essential in a comprehensive management of child sexual abuse. Thank you very much for giving your valuable time. Stay safe.